Part 3, Children of Alcoholics in the Classroom. Presented by Dr. Ann Roberts, Radford University, October 29, 2014.
Not really communicating, but you're unbelievably observant because you need to know how to enter and exit these situations. So do you think you're going to have a line? Like, are you going to say anything, a line? Am I going to give you a line and say, no, you're going to sit quietly right here. And I'm going to sit you to the side because I want you to glance out to the side to know what's going on. Okay, but you are not going to do anything. Here's like a little handout you can look at, okay? How's the meeting? Can I get the last person here? Will you be able to see it? I need the last child. You can stare each other down if something comes up. Come on.
Ah, she's jumping.
Yay. Yay. Here, we'll go right over here. What is your name?
Megan.
Hi, Megan. Do you see your family here?
Yes.
What do you think this family needs? What do you think they need at this point?
Support.
Say it again.
Support.
Support will probably come from the brother. What else do we need? What's missing from this family?
Some more action.
So you give all the action we can handle. What else do we need? Well, what type of action? Maybe.
Oh, comedic.
Yes, we need humor. We need the comic relief. This is the hardest role, but I have faith in you.
Awesome.
Yes, you can. You're good. You're good. Okay, so what we need is just when Karen and Dad are about to cross the table and get at each other, Megan comes in with the best line that just has everybody in stitches. You are somebody who is devil-may-care, lighthearted, you're very observant, you are communicative only so that you can understand how to make people laugh. Whatever's going inside, you'll never see. If we ever saw you down, we'd go, what's wrong with you? You wet blanket. Come on, lighten up. So even if you wanted to be serious, you couldn't. You're somebody who's always joking. You are the teacher. You ride that mischievousness where you should always get written up, but teachers go, just go sit down. You're brilliant at how far to push it. You might go with the brother when he's doing his lawn mowing jobs. You might hang out with the sister and at the playground and maybe drink a little beer. You are very aware of the sister who's really quiet. You are aware of everything, and you try to lighten up the situation. You are the clown, the comic relief. So this is what I want you to do. I'm going to get everybody going. And when I do, you can't touch them, but you have to run from person to person and go, look at me, as fast as you can. And we won't make you do it long, okay? You can do it, Megan. I have faith, and you won't do it long, honest, because I know how difficult the role is.
All teachers are hams, so
Yeah,
you got to
okay.
learn the ham.
Get off my back, quit bothering me.
Get off my back. Quit bothering me.
Everything's fine. Everything's
Get
all
off my
right.
back. Quit
Is
bothering
this
me.
good enough?
Get off my back.
The hell with all of you.
The hell with all of you.
Go! Quick!
Get off my back.
Quick, go! Okay, don't get Okay, cut! That's all we need. Okay.
Bravo.
So, on that note, I'm going to ask, don't you get out yet, I'm going to ask you all to get off and back to your seats. Come on down. You've got tall legs, that won't even a problem for you. Okay, now have a seat. Thank you. Now, here's my question. What is your name? Hi, Amanda. Amanda, if you went back to some education friends and you wanted to describe what you saw, can you give me some words to describe what a family like this is like?
The first thing that comes into my mind is always
It's a circus.
everybody is doing something different. It's all really crazy.
Okay, it's crazy. Everybody's doing something different. I have never heard it talked about that way. I think it's ideal. What else would you say about this family? What would be other words to describe? If you had to describe it, say it again.
Chaotic.
It was chaotic. What else?
Did you say dysfunctional?
No, not yet. Dysfunctional. Let's unpack that a little bit. How is it dysfunctional?
They're not communicating.
There's no communication, really. They're communicating from themselves, but there's no real authentic. Anything else that you saw?
I feel like with the lack of communication, there's a better chance there's going to be a lot of problems.
Because there's no communication, people are going to step on each other. It's going to be very, very difficult. More problems will emerge because people are doing their best, independent of each other, to try to fix the family, as misguided as it might be. Okay? Anything else?
There's no truth. No one wants to talk about the truth. But it's really
closeness truth, it was your role of somebody saying that. And I'll have to say, often when I was a counselor and kids would be in trouble and they would send them to me, not knowing the family dynamic, and I would finally get it at that, and I would get the parents in. All the time they would say, if you would just fix Karen, we would be fine. And I'm thinking, man, the second we fix Karen, you're going to have to figure out your wife's an alcoholic. You know? And so it's to keep the secret at all costs, even sacrificing kids. And the one thing I forgot to say about this family dynamic is boundaries are not clear. Boundaries are not clear. There are times when Brian, who's the oldest, will be like the father, and yet he's Brian. And here's an example, 6th grade. This kid races up to me and goes, Miss Roberts, my mother, I don't know what to do. She missed 4 days this pay period, and I know that the rent is due, but we can be 10 days late on that, and I know that her check for taxes is coming in, but I know the car insurance is going to be $40 more late because we're late. This poor little 11-year-old boy had a more sophisticated knowledge of finances than I did at age 35. And that was a red flag. It's like, why do you know this much? And after I realized why Mom was sick so much, it was because that she was missing a lot of work because of her drinking. That's a lot of pressure. The story I had of you, wait. Meg?
Oh, no, Karen.
No, not Karen.
Tina.
Oh.
You were Tina? Bummer. Sorry. Karen, I had you in my head. Karen's story was an actual story, an 8th grade girl that I had as a student that I was working with. She was the president of her student council, and I found her sobbing hysterically in the bathroom. And it took me like 5 minutes just, and all I could hear is, I just want to go to the sock hop. I just want to go to the sock hop. I'm like, okay, this is wild. And so what I found out was this was her life, and she couldn't bear to ask her dad if she could get off for an afternoon to go to the sock hop. Now, my role as a counselor was not to confront Dad and say, what burden are you putting on this poor 13-year-old daughter? What I did instead was saying, you know, as the class president, Karen really should represent the school by going to the sock hop and to show the importance of the function. He's like, well, that makes sense. Okay, I can find a babysitter, you know? And then it took a long time for all of a sudden the rest to come out. See, these kids, even in elementary school, at some point, nobody knows these are the rules that they're doing. They're not like really delineated. But you're going to have 1 out of 4 children. 1 out of 4 children are children of alcoholics sitting in your classroom or some addiction. 1 out of 4. So if you have a class of 25, that's 4 kids. Are you going to have the rebel? Are you going to have the hero? Are you going to have the lost child? Or are you going to have the comedian? Think about that. Who would you love in your classroom?
Brian.
Right? Right? But you know what? I'll tell you, the Bryans, Ms. Roberts, you said that you were going to have the test on Tuesday. Why are you changing it to Wednesday just because other kids didn't study? I studied, and I think that that's, you know, I mean, they'll keep you in line. They'll hold you to stuff.
Can he come across as like the know-it-all?
Yes. They'll correct you. And you know how, have you ever seen like a teacher go, I'm going to leave this child in charge while I go do something? Most teachers will ask the Brian, but what you want to do is give Brian a break. Mm-hmm. I'm not making you all counselors to find out and counsel these kids, but every one of these kids needs to, at least in your classroom, be a kid. So the Bryans, they need to learn to play. And that was my greatest gift to all these kids. I played. I had bubble makers. We played football. I just wanted them to be kids for a little while. So the people who have a lot of responsibility, you don't want to heighten that more. So then you're going to have some kids in your class, and especially you guys in secondary and you in health, Karen, Tina, and I'm sorry, I've already forgotten your names, Megan and Caitlin and Amanda. You all, it's going to be harder and it won't manifest as intensely with elementary, but there's going to be some kids who you're going to see them be very angry and out of control. It might be that dance they've learned in the family a little bit. So I want you to know that that's part of it. You're going to have that lost child. I hate to say it, in a class of 30, you may like the lost child, Caitlin, in your classroom. But that's the child you need to showcase, at least one-on-one. You need to articulate, I know you and I see you. You are not invisible to me. And then the class clown, the gift to them is to get underneath the clown part and let them be able to be comfortable enough to share what's really going on sometimes. They may not say, I'm a child of an alcoholic, but they might say, I do feel sad today and I want someone to know it. I see it. And then they might go back to the clown again. But at least they have a place where they can be authentic. Does that make sense a little bit?
What about the rebel?
Well, the rebel, you need to keep putting boundaries on, but realize, accentuate their leadership, because those are leaders. Do you know where you find rebels when they grow up? Jail. What type of jobs they have?
Did you hear what she said?
Jail.
Yeah.
But those that are in jail, that is true. That is true. But you know what career that they often pick? The boss. There's two jobs, careers.
Law enforcement.
Yes! Law enforcement. And what else?
Teaching.
Actually, military. They want that structure. And that's why sometimes those law enforcements are so tough on people, because they wanted someone to somehow rescue them and put the boundaries on them because they were so out of control. Even though in some ways it was calculated. Does that make sense? Who brings help to the family? No, he protects the family secret because he's the good child.
Mom?
Mom does it because she's trying to fix it all.
I bet the rebel.
You have a guidance counselor, a Planned Parenthood counselor, a juvenile probation counselor, a drug and alcohol counselor. You have all these counselors, and you're the truth teller. So finally, you'll say, I'll tell you what's wrong. My family's whacked. It's not that dad's sick. Yeah, he's disabled, but we can handle disabled. He's a drunk. So what I'm trying to help you understand is this. Don't personalize the behaviors you see in a classroom. Certainly attend, but don't react, because sometimes the drama has nothing to do with you. This is only one example of the type of dramas that happen in a classroom. Does that make sense? This is only a little bit. But sometimes we'll work with a kid and all of a sudden they'll tell us off, or they'll be really rude or disrespectful, and people, well, I just worked with you for days after school. Why are you doing that to me? And my response is, man, there's a whole other drama. You're just a little player in this drama. Does anybody know, think about when you grew up in school, in your neighborhood, in the classroom, cousins or whatever. Anybody know a person who was raised by an alcoholic family member? Raise your hand. I don't necessarily need, I'm not asking necessarily who, but can you see what role they might have taken on, even as an adult? Do you know, Brian, who they were?
Yeah, one of my good friends, his mom is addicted to alcohol and medication and stuff like that. And it started freshman year in high school, and he's a freshman here now. But he ended up taking the role, because over a divorce, that's why the mom started drinking and doing all that. He ended up taking his siblings to school in elementary school while he was still in high school, getting a job to bring money into the family, feeding the kids, and doing all that stuff.
Definitely the hero. Did he stay the hero?
Yeah.
High achiever. Anybody else who knows somebody? Yes, go ahead. What role would you know? You don't have to necessarily, unless you want to share.
They would probably be the class clown.
So you knew a class clown. Did they have siblings?
One.
Did you know the sibling?
I did not know this.
Okay, so that doesn't, because I was going to ask you, were they always the class clown, or did they have any other flavors of these other roles?
They were mainly the class clown.
Okay. I saw another hand up somewhere. Was it you, Megan, that had a hand up, Karen? Tina? Did you know anybody?
I knew a rebel.
Did you know anybody else besides the rebel?
They were an only child.
An only child. Because sometimes when I have a lot of people with these stories, what you'll find is this. It doesn't always go in this pattern. Sometimes the oldest could be the lost child or the scapegoat, The other thing is